This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Wednesday, January 25th, 2023, and we're so glad you could join us for today's show. And in today's episode, Dustin will visit with U.S. Grains Council Vice President Cary Sifferath. And as always, we will take a look at the ag weather outlook. But first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day, we are joined now by Tyler Schau of agmarket.net for our closing analysis. Tyler, what did we see on the grain markets today?
A little bit of back and forth trading on most of the grains. We actually ended up with soybeans higher, wheat higher on the day. Corn kind of faded into the day. For most of the day, though, kind of a little bit of both sides, at least on the corn and bean market. The wheat market stayed positive pretty much all day. Not a huge news day out there. We did have the EIA report. Ethanol production was still strong, over 1 million barrels per day being produced. One maybe red flag that you could argue is we did see stocks increase, and they're at fairly high levels. So ethanol stocks growing can be a concern. This time of the year, we tend to see stocks grow a little bit as the ethanol plants continue to produce, but driving does slow down a little bit in the winter months. So we're obviously not consuming as much gasoline as we do in the summertime, and therefore it's not unusual to build stocks. So you kind of got to take that report with a grain of salt when you see that jump in stocks. You know, we started off Monday. I'm sure they talked about it Monday and yesterday with a big drop down in all the commodities, largely based on rains that fell in Argentina and Brazil, and possibly getting just some of that losses back on, you know, probably the rains maybe didn't hit where we thought they didn't get as much. And then, you know, forecasted rains are kind of backing off a little bit every day as we move through the week.
So, Tyler, that's, of course, the update on South America, which we've been hearing a lot about this week. But the other, big player that we haven't been talking about a lot about this week is China. When we think back to when those COVID restrictions changed, they opened things up a little bit more, but there was still some unrest, still some turmoil in the country. Have we learned anything else since then? What do we know right now about where China is at and what that's going to mean for demand?
Well, we know this. Their COVID count numbers are high. They've been dealing with high COVID cases. How, to what extent it's pretty difficult to know, with their reporting system and how accurate it is. We do, a lot of us have the assumption that they're kind of going through the worst of it. Maybe they've peaked. Maybe they'll be peaking here in the next month. And as the COVID cases start to drop, that's when a lot of analysts are expecting to see kind of this rollout of Chinese demand that's really been hampered for all commodities, really across the board. Energies, grains, proteins, you name it, has been hampered since 2020 and the start of the whole COVID pandemic. So, the idea that a lot of people are operating under is that they're going to come out of COVID with these relaxed protocols, and their appetite for commodities is going to grow, which is why you see some of that bullishness in the back months, especially like on hogs. And the real question is, what do they do as far as buying soybeans and corn? And so we know corn demand has suffered as of late, but there's a lot of analysts and us being one of them, or myself being one of them, that is really looking to see China come in and buy some corn here over the next 6 months from the U.S. as we become more competitive with other exporting nations.
Tyler, what was the story? What's the analysis on the livestock side of the markets today?
Pretty slow news day on livestock. The story really hasn't changed. Cattle on feed report told us kind of what we already knew. Livestock or cattle numbers are dwindling. Maybe we're past that peak, and every placement and cattle on feed report we get from here on out, we're going to see lower numbers for really an extended amount of time as we try to build back that breeding herd and get more calves into the system. But that's at least 12, likely more than 12 months out before we see that happening. So you're probably going to see some, more risk to the upside on feeder cattle and fat cattle. That does pend some type of economic disaster or slowdown, recession, whatever term you want to use, that could wreck demand. But right now, demand seems to be pretty strong. And like I said, the back months on the hogs, the February hogs are closed today at 76.80. Your back months, your June and your July contract are 102 and higher. So there is a big premium for hogs out in the summer months. A lot of that's just this estimation that China is going to come back into the market. Some of it has to do with the supply of hogs is just high. We've got a lot of pork production out there, and we're trying to grind through it as we speak.
Tyler, thanks so much for the analysis. As always, how can our viewers get in touch for more information?
Check out the website, agmarket.net. Got plenty of information there. You can sign up for our Ag Intel. You can look at our conference that's going to be in Nashville, February 5th and 6th, Farming for Profit, Not Price. And if you want to call direct, the number 701-987-6009.
He is Tyler Schau from agmarket.net, our guest today for our closing analysis. Tyler, as always, thank you so much and have a great day.
You bet. See you guys.
That was Tyler Schau with agmarket.net. Let's turn our attention now to the closing numbers, courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. March corn is down 2 1/4 at 674 3/4. New crop December corn down 3 1/4 at 588 even. March soybeans up 14 even at 1502 1/2. New crop November soybeans up 6 3/4 at 1344 3/4. May soybean meal up 4 even at 452.80. May soybean oil down 38 cents at 60.71. Chicago wheat up 6 3/4 at 749 even. Minneapolis wheat up 6 1/4 at 903 1/4. And Kansas hard red wheat up 9 1/2 at 838 even. May oats up a half cent at 369 3/4. February live cattle down 25 cents at 157.60. January feeder cattle up 45 cents at 179.40. February lean hogs down 30 cents at 76.80. February pork cutout down 47 cents at 84.52. And class 3 milk unchanged at 19.43. And that's been a check of the Ag Market Recap here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead now and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, Dustin will visit with U.S. Grains Council Vice President Cary Sifferath. This is AMPM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today, Dustin will sit down and visit with U.S. Grains Council Vice President Cary Sifferath.
Right now we are talking with U.S. Grains Council Vice President Cary Sifferath. Thanks so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, so talk a little bit about what's going on from U.S. Grain Council's perspective on agriculture right now, especially when it comes to corn, soybeans, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so the U.S. Grain Council, we a nonprofit organization to develop markets for U.S. corn, barley, sorghum, and their co-products. The big ones today being DDGS, distillers dried grains, and then grain-based ethanol exports.
All right, so looking at what's the status right now for some of these products? What are we seeing out there?
We continue to see good demand globally. Have some, a little bit of hiccups logistically on with the low water levels on the river. That's kind of hurting U.S. corn exports in the first few months of this marketing year. But we expect that to pick up as we move out throughout the marketing year. Strong demand for U.S. ethanol and DDGS. Our partner to the north in Canada, our #1 customer for ethanol exports. That continues to grow, and we're working on new markets. Japan takes about 100 million gallons a year, U.S. ethanol equivalent. We're looking to expand that, looking at new markets in Indonesia, as well as markets like India. We're seeing the European Union come back, UK come back into becoming good markets for U.S. ethanol exports.
You know, and obviously EU, for one, was always really touting the electric vehicle, and we understand that is an option out there, but ethanol's here now.
Correct.
But, you know, what are we seeing, especially for some of those countries that you're trying to grow emerging markets in there, and what are we seeing that response for that product?
And that's our message, you know, whether, you know, we're not here to, you know, we know EVs are part of their goals, but just like here in the U.S., you're not going to, you know, switch over your vehicle fleet in a couple of years, and so ethanol today can help. You know, if you've set those carbon neutral goals for, you know, 2035 or 2050, and EVs are maybe part of that, but ethanol blended, a 10% blend in your ethanol in your gas tank today is going to move you towards those goals today, not waiting for the 5, 10, 15, 20 years for your vehicle fleets to switch over to EVs. Even knowing that is not going to be 100% type of thing. And so that's our key message, is that we can help you start working towards those goals today by blending ethanol.
And when we talk about emerging markets, you mentioned a few of those countries, but you also start to see, you know, we're starting to see more of the African countries start to come up, and that's always an area that's always considered more of the lower class and needed some of the staple stuff. But now they're starting to see that emerging middle class and start having an appetite for different things. Correct.
I was just in Kenya a couple of weeks ago on USDA's Ag Trade Mission, and we've been on the ground working in Tanzania and Kenya as a way of developing that feed and livestock industries, and they're growing to the point where they're starting to outstrip their own domestic and neighboring countries for corn, maize, other feed ingredients. And so we see that as an opening for U.S. corn, U.S. DDGS, maybe some U.S. sorghum as well into those markets. As it's going to be small now, but that's a new area that we think it will be a good demand growth in the years to come.
And talking about whether it's Asia, Europe, Africa, wherever, obviously sustainability is something that is going to be key. Getting the most out of what we're able to produce while doing the minimal damage to the environment, because obviously if there's damage, you ain't going to be able to keep growing. So what kind of message are you getting there about being responsible around the globe there?
And obviously, what the U.S. producers are making those changes in production today that is making us more sustainable. And the U.S. Grain Council, we're in the process of putting out what we call our CSAP, so our Corn Sustainable Assurance Protocol. We're on schedule. Hopefully we'll be ready to release that in early 2023, February or March, where we'll even be able to issue a certificate or a protocol showing that you've bought corn that meets these sustainability assurances, and you can then apply that to the corn that's fed to your chickens that are producing eggs or pork or dairy products, or even if you're processing it into starch and sweeteners, being able to carry that label, and the same for DDGS. Even if I'm using DDGS to feed aquaculture in Vietnam or Thailand, and even those markets that they're sending those products out to, some of it back to the U.S., some to Europe, Japan, and being able to give that sustainability assurance to those customers going forward.
Now, obviously, the U.S. Grains Council doing a lot of work around the globe. But what's something that really excites you about all the work you're doing? What's this one thing that really is amazing you, maybe, what's going on?
It's again that whether it's East Africa, we just opened up a new office in New Delhi, India. Always looking and trying to find those areas to create new demand. Our big markets of Japan and South Korea and Mexico and China. They're always going to be there. But where's that new? We always talk. What's going to be the new South Korea? That we worked in the early 70s and created, a 10, 11 million ton market. We've seen Vietnam. I started working in Vietnam in 1996, and we've seen that country develop. Is it Kenya? Is it Bangladesh? Is it India? Where is those new markets? So being able to get the support from our members to be able to go put our footprint, open up a new office in New Delhi, expand our presence in that East Africa, Kenya, Tanzania market.
Folks out. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, that's what keeps me excited, and again, trying to find those new markets for our members back home here.
All right, so folks out there want to learn about the work the U.S. Grains Council is doing, what they can do to help further it along, how they can be involved. Where's a good place for them to go?
Well, grains.org, www.grains.org is our website. You can find all kinds of information. You can track. We have a tracking system that looks at feed grains in all forms. What are the big markets out there? And then, being active at the state level, whether if you're in Iowa, the Iowa Corn Promotion Board, the Iowa Corn Growers Association, big supporters of the U.S. Grain Council, and so being active even on that state level through them is a great way to be involved with the U.S. Grain Council.
All right, well, that is Cary Sifferath. He is the U.S. Grains Council Vice President here on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
That was U.S. Grains Council Vice President Cary Sifferath. As for right now, let's take a look at the ag weather outlook. Well, there are snowfall chances around the state of Iowa today, of course, varying by location. Here in central Iowa, in Des Moines, it's been pretty quiet for the most part so far. Tonight, we will have increasing cloud cover as the night progresses. And as we look at tomorrow, it's going to look very nice outside. It's going to be sunny in a lot of places, partly cloudy in some others. Those temperatures are going to be a little bit cool in the 20s and 30s. So let's turn our attention now to the National Weather Service and what's in store for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, cloudy and windy across the state of Iowa today with snow chances for most of the state. High temperatures in the low 20s to mid-30s. Tonight, blustery and mostly cloudy. Snow chances in eastern Iowa. We will have a wide low temperature range tonight with low temperature expected around 2 degrees in Cherokee and all the way up to 25 degrees in other parts of the state. Tomorrow, partly sunny and blustery, then becoming mostly sunny. High temperatures tomorrow in the 15 to 29 range. Still going to be fairly cool, although it is nice to see some sun in the forecast for tomorrow. Taking a look now at our affiliate weather map for tomorrow. Cherokee expected to be mostly sunny with a high temperature around 25. Shenandoah partly cloudy and a high around 27. Des Moines for Thursday, partly cloudy, high temperature around 20. Albia mostly cloudy and a high around 21. Waterloo partly cloudy and 15 degrees the high, and Clinton mostly cloudy with a high around 29. For a more detailed forecast in your part of the state, check with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook. That also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And you can find all of our video content and previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. Don't forget as well our free twice daily market podcasts. Those are found on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. On behalf of Riley Smith and Dustin Huffman, who is back from Brazil, he will be joining us on AMPM very soon. We thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.